Gauranga. Okay, we are online, Facebook and YouTube. Okay, we're ready to go, streaming live. And so I guess we will chant. Okay, let's practicing another song. All right, let us go. Vishnupad, Panamahansa, Acharya, Siddhara, Siddhashi, Srimad, Divine Grace, Chaitanya bkgoswami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, ISKCON founder at Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anantakoti, Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Namacharya, Shinahiras, Thakur ki jai, Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Kapana Shyam Kund Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavanam ki jai, Mathuranam ki jai, Jagannath Swami ki jai, Yamunamai ki jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi ki jai, Sundaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Gaur. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pacharani Nibashesha Shunyabadi Paschatati Shantarni Somagana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Un Nidham Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, hopefully none of you are blinded in the darkness of ignorance right now. But if you are, if you listen to the Chaitanya Charitamrta, maybe you will be picked up out of the darkness of ignorance. I hope you will. So, anyway, we're going to start with the Chaitanya Charitamrta. Just one announcement. Sunday, which is not tomorrow, but is the day after tomorrow, for those of you who are in the South Pacific, it's the day after tomorrow, so that'll be Monday for all of you, and Sunday for all of us. We're going to be speaking about Lord Shiva. We have a Shiva Rachi program at New Goloka. And it's going to be an open program, although people are going to be asked to wear masks and observe social distancing. And anyway, it'll be an interesting festival. The festival, I think, will start a little early, but my online class will be at 5 o'clock, and then we'll have some sort of Abhishek or some program after that. Not sure of the exact details. So in any case, you're all invited to tune in. That is 2 days from today, Sunday in the United States, and also Monday in the South Pacific. Okay. So on that happy note, let's go on to the Chaitanya Charitamrta. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Alrighty. So we're reading from the 13th chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrta, text 62. Asangya Bhaktera Karaila Avatara Sheshe Avatirna Haila Brajendra Kumara. Lord Krishna, Brajendra Kumara, first caused countless devotees to appear, and at last he appeared himself, because we're talking about the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhura Virbhava Purve Yata Vaishnava Gana Advaita Charya Rastane Karena Gamana Before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees of Navadvip used to gather in the house of Advaita Acharya. Gita Bhavagavata Kahi Acharya Gunshani Yani Karma Nindi Kare Bhaktira Padai. In these meetings of the Vaishnavas, Advaita Acharya used to recite the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, decrying the past of philosophical speculation, fruitive activity, and establishing the super excellence of devotional service. Sarvashastra Kahi Krishna Bhaktira Vyakyana Jnana Yoga Tapo Dharma Nahi Manayana. In all the revealed scriptures of Vedic culture, devotional service to Lord Krishna is explained throughout. Therefore, devotees of Lord Krishna do not recognize the process of philosophical speculation, mystic yoga, unnecessary austerity, and so-called religious rituals. They do not accept any process but devotional service. Our Krishna consciousness movement follows this principle. We do not recognize any method for spiritual realization other than Krishna consciousness devotional service. Sometimes we are criticized by groups following jnana, yoga, tapas, or dharma. But fortunately, we are unable to make compromises with them. We simply stand on the platform of devotional service and preach the same principles all over the world. So, jnana means basically mental speculation, not using your mind. Using your mind is okay, but speculating, that's it. That is something like when Krishna says, you should always think of me. You say Krishna didn't mean what he was saying. He means you should not think of him. That's speculation. Yoga means like the Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Not that yoga is prohibited. One can do it for their health. But it's not one of the processes of devotional service. The Hatha Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Tapas means austerities, sleeping on the bed of nails. Of course, it doesn't mean that one should sleep on a waterbed either. And dharma means like mundane principles that are simply mundane details that are simply time, place, and manner restrictions or injunctions for particular circumstances. That's what time, place, and circumstance means anyway. Next text. Tanra Sange Ananda Kare Vaishnava Ragana Krishna Katha Krishna Puja Nama Sankirtana. In the house of Advaita Acharya, all the Vaishnavas took pleasure in always talking of Krishna, always worshipping Krishna, and always chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. On these principles only does the Krishna conscious movement go on. We have no business other than talk of Krishna, worship Krishna, and chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Kintu sarva lokha Krishna bahir mukha Vishayini magna loka deki Paiduka. But Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu felt pain to see all the people without Krishna consciousness simply merging in material sense enjoyment. A bona fide devotee of Lord Krishna is always pained to see the fallen condition of the whole world. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, there is no scarcity of anything within this world. The only scarcity is of Krishna consciousness. That is the vision of all pure devotees. Because of this lack of Krishna consciousness in human society, people are suffering terribly, being merged in an ocean of nescience and sense gratification. A devotee onlooker is very much aggrieved to see such a situation in the world. Lokera nishtara hetu kanena chintana kemate sava lokera haive karana. Seeing the condition of the world, he began to think seriously of how all these people could be delivered from the clutches of Maya. Krishna avatari karena bhaktira vishtara tabita sakala lokera haive dishtara. Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu thought if Krishna himself appears in order to distribute the cult of devotional service, then only will liberation be possible for all people. Just as a condemned person can be relieved by a special favor of the chief executive head, the president, or king, so the condemned people of this Kali Yuga can be delivered only by the Supreme Personality of God himself, or a person especially empowered for this purpose. Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu desired that the Supreme Personality of Godhead invent himself to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Now, you may say, since Advaita Acharya is a Vishnu Tattva, he's God, why couldn't he do it? And also he's empowered. That was his humility and his identity, that he was thinking of himself simply as a servant. And also he understood that it was time for Krishna to appear in his original aspect. Krishnavatari te acharya pratigya kariya Krishna puja kare tulasi ganga jaladiya. With this consideration, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, promising to cause Lord Krishna to descend, began to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna with tulasi leaves and water of the Ganges. Tulasi leaves and Ganges water with, if possible, a little pulp of sandalwood is sufficient paraphernalia to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, text 26, Patram pushpam palam doyam yome bhakcha pariyachate Taraham bhaktyuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Following this principle, Advaita Prabhu pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead with tulasi leaves and water of the Ganges. Krishnera Kavana Kare Sangana Hunkara Hunkaraya Krishna Haila Brajendra Kumara. By loud cries, he invited Krishna to appear, and this repeated invitation attracted Lord Krishna to descend. Jagannatha Mishra Patni Sachira Udare Ashtakanya Krame Haila Janmi Janmi Mare. Before the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 8 daughters took birth one after another from the womb of Sachimata, the wife of Jagannatha Mishra. But just after their birth, they all died. Wow. Apachavirahi Mishra Rakutuki Haila Manha Putra Lagi Haradila Vishnura Charana. Jagannath Mishra was very unhappy at the death of his children, one after another. Therefore, desiring a son, he worshipped the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Tavi Putra Jana Mila Vishwarupanama Mahaguna Vantena Baladeva Dama. After this, Jagannath Mishra begot a son of the name Vishwarupa, who was most powerful and highly qualified because he was an incarnation of Balaram, or Baladev. Vishwarupa was the elder brother of Gauri, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When arrangements were being made for the marriage of Vishwarupa, he took sannyas and left home. We told that story already. He took sannyas name of Sankararanya. In the 1431 Shakabda era, that is year of our Lord, 1509, he disappeared in Pandarapura in the district of Sholapur. As an incarnation of Sankarsana, he is both the ingredient and immediate cause of the creation of this material world. He is non-different from Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the Angsha and the Amshi. The part and the whole are non-different. As an incarnation of Sankarsana, Vishwarupa belongs to the quadruple manifestation of Chaturvyuha. We described what Chaturvyuha was before. That means Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And whenever the Lord appears, these 4 or the 3 aspects of his personality also appear, like Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna. In the Gaura Chandrodaya, it is said that Vishwarupa, after his so-called demise, remained mixed within Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Baladeva Prakasha Paramavyome Sankarshana Tena Vishvarupa Dana Nimitta Karana. The expansion of Baladeva, known as Sankarsana in the spiritual world, is the ingredient and immediate cause of this material cosmic manifestation. So ingredient means the pradhan, the unmanifest stage of the 3 modes of material natures, and the immediate cause is the glance of Mahasankarsana. Okay. And that glance is also known as Shambhu. Tanha bahi vishve kachunahi dekiyara Athaiva Vishwarupa nama ye tanhara. The gigantic universal form is called the Vishwarupa incarnation of Mahasankirtan, which I just mentioned. Thus, we do not find anything within this cosmic manifestation except the Lord Himself. Naitachjanam Bhagavati Yanante Jagadishvare Otam Proktam Idam Yusmin Tantushvanga Yatapataha. As the threads on a cloth spread both lengthwise and breadthwise, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists directly and indirectly within everything we see in this cosmic manifestation. This is not very wonderful for Him. This is a verse from the Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 15th chapter, text 35. Ateva Prabhu Tanre Vale Badabai Krishna Balaram Dvi Chaitanya Nitai. Because Mahasankarshan is the ingredient and efficient cause of this cosmic manifestation, He is present in every detail of it. Lord Chaitanya therefore called Him His elder brother. The two brothers are known as Krishna and Balaram in the spiritual world, but at the present moment they are Chaitanya and Nitai. Therefore the conclusion is that Nityananda Prabhu is the original Sankarsana Baladev. Putra Pana Dampati Haela Anandita Mana Vishesha Sevanakare Govinda Charana. The husband and wife, Jagannatha Mishra and Sachi Mata, having gotten Vishwarupa as their son, were very pleased within their minds. Because of their pleasure, they specifically began to serve the lotus feet of Govinda. There's a common saying in India that everyone goes to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he is in distress, but when a person is in an opulent position, he forgets God. In the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, text 16, this is confirmed. Chaturvadavajanti Bam Jana Sukratina Arjuna Artha Gigyasura Artharthi Gyanacha Vartarshava. These are the four types of people who surrender to Krishna. If backed by pious activities in the past, four kinds of men, namely those who were distressed, those who were in need of money, those who were searching after knowledge, and those who were inquisitive, become interested in devotional service. So it doesn't mention those who are materially opulent. Because material opulence can be an impediment unless one is an actually very pure soul. Janmaishvarya Shrutasya Shibiredamana Adapuman. Some of the material impediments are mentioned in this particular verse. What are they? If one is born in a so-called good family, like a royal family, like recently anybody who's reading the news have seen that there's some personalities in the royal family in the UK that are rebelling. So that's considered a very high-class family. What's your family name? Whatever. So Janma Aishvarya, and if one has money, guess what? You get to have different buildings named after you, different airlines even. You get to have your own private plane. That's very bewildering. And then you forget God. Or you may use God's name to carry out your own nefarious purposes to impress people so that people think that you're religious. Aishvarya, opulence, Janma Aishvarya, Shrutasya. And if someone is very learned, then they may commit offenses against other devotees if they happen to be a learned devotee, thinking themselves more intelligent than the other devotees. That they can twist anybody philosophically around their little finger with half their brain tied behind their back. Janmaishvarya, Shrutasya, and Shibir. And then someone is very proud if they happen to have some bodily beauty. And so this bodily beauty is very fleeting. When you get old, that bodily beauty disappears. Your get up and go got up and went, and your bodily beauty became ugliness. Anyway, the husband and wife, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, were, but Sachi Mata and Jagannath Mishra, they became more Krishna conscious. They were already completely Krishna conscious, but, in other words, they became more absorbed in Krishna when they were a success. The husband and wife, Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata, were very unhappy because their 8 daughters had passed away. Now when they got Vishwarupa as their son, certainly they became extremely happy They knew it. It was by the grace of the Lord that they were endowed with such happiness and opulence. Therefore, instead of forgetting the Lord, they became more and more adherent to rendering service to the lotus feet of Govinda. When a common man becomes opulent, he forgets God. But the more opulent a devotee becomes by the grace of the Lord, the more he becomes attached to the service of the Lord. That's the test of a devotee. I mean, sometimes you see someone get the fruits of their desire, and then they become bewildered. Like when someone falls in love. They think their husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend is the cynosure of all eyes. And they become blinded by the whirlwind of attraction to lust. Lust. Anyway, it's not. It's not that they actually are in love with the person, but they love what the other person does for them. It's a very self-centered thing. Just like that story. I guess we should tell that story again, even though we've told it before. It's from a short novel or a short story written by Kafka. It's called Metamorphosis. So once upon a time, there was a young man, and he was very much beloved by his family. So this young man, he had a very nice bedroom with a beautiful bed, and his family used to serve him, and they loved him. But one night, by the mercy or by the trick of fate, or Krishna, he became transformed into a big cucaracha. What is a big cucaracha? I'll translate that for you. The big cucaracha. No, it's a big cockroach. So the family knocks on his door. Prabhu, are you there? He couldn't say anything. Actually, he was on his back because, when cockroaches are on their back, they can't move. And they come in and they see this giant cockroach, but he's able to speak somehow or other. It's me. It's me. Krishna Goswami. No, it wasn't me. Anyway, it's me. It's me, the guy said. The family went, yuck. Yucky. And eventually they neglected him and he passed away. And he didn't live happily ever after. Also, I was talking to someone who had a cat. We all love little cats. They're furry and cuddly. And so I said to him, somehow or other you were to shrink to about this size, the size of a mouse, then the cat would be speaking the prasadam prayers. Sorry about that one. Anyway, so sorry about that. In the month of January, my God. So, all right, let's go back before I start laughing too much. Choda Shata Chaya Shake Shesha Magamase Jagannatha Satchiradehe Krishnera Praveshe. In the month of January in the year 1406 of the Shaka era, that is 1485 in our era, Lord Krishna entered the bodies of both Jagannath Mishra and Shachi. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his birth in the year 1407 Shaka era, 1486 in the month of Phalguna. But here we see that he entered the bodies of his parents in the year 1406 in the month of Magha. Therefore the Lord entered the bodies of his parents 13 full months before his birth. Generally a common child remains within the womb of his mother for 10 lunar months. But here we see that the Lord remained within the body of his mother for 13 months. And of course Shukadeva Goswami remained within the womb of his mother for 16 years. God and his pure devotees can do anything. And I think Prahlad Maharaj remained in the womb of his mother, Kayadu, for a long time while his father was doing his meditation and Narada Muni was instructing his mother in Krishna consciousness. Mishra kahi shachi stane deki ana rita. Jyotimraya deka deha. Lakshmi Adishta. Sri Jagannath Mishra said to Sachimata, I see wonderful things. Your body is effulgent, and it appears as if the goddess of fortune were now staying personally in your home. Yahantan Sarvaloka Karye Samana Gare Pataya Deha Danavastra Dana. Anywhere and everywhere I go, all people offer me respect. Even without my asking, they voluntarily give me riches, clothing, and paddy. A Brahmana does not become anyone's servant. To render service to someone else is the business of the Shudras. The Brahmana is always independent because he is a teacher, spiritual master, and advisor to society. The members of society provide him with all the necessities of life. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that he's divided society into 4 divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Society cannot run smoothly without this scientific division. A Brahmana should give good advice to all the members of society. A Kshatriya should look after the administration, maintaining law and order in society. Vaishyas should produce and trade to meet all needs of society, whereas Shudras should render service to the higher sections of society, the Brahmin, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Jagannath Mishra was a Brahmin, therefore people would send him all bodily necessities, money, cloth, grain, and so on. While Lord Chaitanya was in the womb of Sachimata, Jagannath Mishra received all these necessities of life without asking for them. Because of the presence of the Lord and his family, everyone offered him due respect as a Brahmana. In other words, if a Brahmana or Vaishnava sticks to his position as an eternal servant of the Lord and executes the will of the Lord, there is no question of scarcity for his personal maintenance or the needs of his family. So one must actually be a Brahmana and be fully absorbed in the service of the Lord. That's very important. One other story that Prabhupada told, because it just came to mind, that illustrated how relationships change and love turns to something else when one has a different type of body, even though one is the same person, is a very interesting story that Prabhupada told. This is a Prabhupada story, so nobody can blame me about this one. Okay? So here's the story. Once upon a time, as all stories go. It's a nice way to start stories. Okay, once upon a time, okay, there was a family, a very rich family, and they owed it all to their father, who, and grandfather, the same guy, who was the one who made all the money, supported all the family, gave all the family its wealth, the richest family in that village. I mean, they were extremely rich. And being extremely rich, they looked down upon everybody else. As they say, look down their noses, whatever that means, at everybody else. And so this elder gentleman, who was the father, passed away, as all people do in this world. And when he passed away, he took his next birth in the same village. And that birth he took was as a cobbler. If you don't know what a cobbler is, look it up in Google, or I'll tell you. A cobbler is someone who makes shoes. He's called a moochie because he deals with leather from animals that died naturally. That's what a cobbler is, dealing with dead skins. Yuck. And so he's making his shoes. And the family, that was the family of this rich man before he was born again and became a cobbler, came to purchase some shoes. Little did they know that cobbler was their ancestor. They thought, he's this stupid cobbler, what does he know? And they didn't like the shoes that they were getting from him, nor the price that they had to pay, and they just beat him with the shoes. Oh my God. And previously, they loved their grandfather, father, great-grandfather, whoever he was. Phew. You see how attitudes changed based on the body. Ooh. This is not good. A devotee should see beyond the body. What is that? Vidya vinaya sampani brahmani gavihashtani shuni chaiva swapake cha pandita samadarshana. That means he sees all living entities equally. Doesn't mean he acts exactly the same in relationship with all living entities, because he has some discrimination, obviously. I don't invite the skunk that lives outside my house to come live with me because he smells bad. So, but still he has the same mood of love for all living entities. Just like the other day, I was walking in the forest and I noticed a tree, of course, many trees in the forest, and I was thinking I should love this tree as much as I love my pet cat. I don't have a pet cat. As much as I love anybody. Of course, there's special love for the spiritual master. That's obvious. And that's a different type of relationship. But the compassion and love for all living entities should be the same. What does it mean to see every living entity equally? It means the emotional attitude you have, even towards your enemy, as it's described by Lord Kapila. Ajata Shatrava Shanta, Sadhava Sadhabhushana. A devotee of the Lord is Tatishava Kurunikas. Surida Sarvadehinam. He loves all living entities. He's the well-wisher, the friend of all living entities, and he doesn't have any enemies. Okay, on that happy note, we will go ahead. Sachikare Muni Dekon Akashupare. Divyamurti Loka Saba Yena Stuti Kare. Sachiamata told her husband, I see wonderfully brilliant human beings appearing in outer space as if offering prayers. Those are the demigods, of course. Jagannath Mishra was honored by everyone on the earth and was supplied with all necessities. Similarly, Mother Sachi saw many demigods in outer space, offering prayers there because of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's presence in her womb. Jagannath Mishra Kai Swapnat Yed Kila Jyotirmai Damamora Hridaya Pashila. Jagannath Mishra then replied, in a dream I saw the effulgent abode of the Lord enter my heart. Amara Hridaya Haite Gela Tumara Deye Hena Vuchi Janmi Vena Kona Mahashe. For my heart and entered your heart. I therefore understand that a great personality will soon take birth. Etabali Dunhe Rahe Harashitahana Shalagrama Seva Kare Vishesha Karya. After this conversation, both husband and wife were very jubilant, and together they rendered service to the household Shalagram Shila. Especially in every Brahmin's house, there must be a Shalagram Shila to be worshipped by the Brahmin family. The system is still current. People who are Brahmins by caste, who are born in a Brahmin family, must worship the Shalagram Shila. Unfortunately, with the progress of Kali Yuga, the so-called Brahmanas, although very, very proud of taking birth in Brahmin families, no longer worship the Shalagram Shila. But actually, it has been a custom since time immemorial that a person born in a Brahmin family must worship the Shalagram Shila in all circumstances. In our Krishna conscious society, some of the members are very anxious to introduce worship of the Shalagram Shila, but we have purposefully refrained from introducing it because most of the members of the Krishna conscious movement do not originally come from families of the Brahmin caste. After some time, when we find they are actually situated strictly in the line of Brahminical behavior, Shalagram Shila worship will be introduced. In this age, the worship of Shalagram Shila is not as important as the chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the injunction of the Shastra, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo, Nashteva, Nashteva, Nashteva Gatiranyata. In this day and age, only the chanting of Harinam is the way to go. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrta, 17th chapter of the Adi Lila, text 21. Srila Jiva Goswami's opinion is that by chanting the holy name offenselessly, one becomes complete and perfect. Nevertheless, just to purify the situation of the mind, worship of the deity in the temple is also necessary. Therefore, when one is advanced in spiritual consciousness or is perfectly situated on the spiritual platform, he may take to the worship of the Shalagram Shila. The transference of the Lord from the heart of Jagannath Mishra to the heart of Sachiamata is explained by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as follows. It is to be concluded that Jagannath Mishra and Sachiamata are Nitya Siddhas, ever pure associates of the Lord. Their hearts are always uncontaminated, and therefore they never forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A common man in this material world has a contaminated heart. He must therefore first purify his heart to come to the transcendental position. But Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata were not a common man and woman with contaminated hearts. When the heart is uncontaminated, it is said to be on the existential position of Vasudeva. Vasudeva can beget Vasudeva, or Krishna, who is transcendently situated. It is to be understood that Sachi Devi did not become pregnant as an ordinary woman becomes pregnant because of a sense indulgence. One should not think of the pregnancy of Sachimata to be that of an ordinary woman, because that is an offense. One can understand the pregnancy of Sachimata when one is actually advanced in spiritual consciousness and fully engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.16, it is stated, Bhagavan api vishvatma bhaktanam abhayan karaha avivesham sabhagena mana anakadundubuki. This is a statement regarding the birth of Lord Krishna. The incarnation of the Lord entered the mind of Vasudeva and then was transferred to the mind of Devaki. Srila Sridhara Swami gives the following annotation to this connection. Mana avivesha manashaviva bhuva jivanam iva nadatu sambandha ityartha. There was no question of the seminal discharge necessary for the birth of an ordinary human being. Srila Rupa Goswami also comments in this connection that Lord Krishna first appeared in the mind of Anaka Dundubi, Vasudeva, and was then transferred to the mind of Devaki Devi. Thus the spiritual bliss in the mind of Devaki Devi gradually increased, just as the moon increases every night until it becomes a full moon. At the time of his appearance, Lord Krishna came out of the mind of Devaki and appeared within the prison house of Kamsa by the side of Devaki's bed. At that time, by the spell of Yogamaya, Devaki thought that a child had now been born. In this connection, even the demigods from the celestial kingdom were also bewildered. As it is stated, Muyanti Atsurya, Bhagavatam 1.1.1, the first verse in the Bhagavatam. They came to offer their prayers to Devaki, thinking that the Supreme Lord was within her womb. The demigods came to Mathura from their celestial kingdom. This indicates that Mathura is still more important than the celestial kingdom of the upper planetary system. Lord Krishna, as the eternal son of Yashoda, Mayi, is always present in Vrindavan. The pastimes of Lord Krishna are continuously going on within both this material world and the spiritual world. In such pastimes, the Lord always thinks of himself, the eternal son of Mother Yashoda and Father Nanda Maharaj. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, verse 43, it is stated, when magnanimous, broad-hearted Nanda Maharaj came back from the tour, he immediately took his son Krishna on his lap and experienced transcendental bliss by smelling his head. Similarly, in the 10th canto, 9th chapter, verse 21, it is said, the personality of God, appearing as the son of the coward damsel, is easily available and understandable to devotees, whereas those who are under the concept of bodily life, even though they are very much advanced in austerity and penance, even though they are great philosophers, are unable to understand him. Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur next quotes Shripad Baladev Vijabhushana, who refers to the prayers offered by the demigods to Lord Krishna in the womb of Devaki, and summarizes the birth of Krishna as follows. As the rising moon manifests light in the east, so Devaki, who is always situated on the transcendental platform, having been initiated in the Krishna mantra by Vasudeva, the son of Surasena, kept Krishna within her heart. From this statement of Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.18, it is understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, having been transferred from the heart of Anakadundubi, or Vasudeva, manifested himself in the heart of Devaki. According to Srila Baladev Vijabhushana, the heart of Devaki means the womb of Devaki, because in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.41, the demigods say, Dishamba te kokshigata harapuman. Mother Devaki, the Lord, is already within your womb. Therefore, that the Lord was transferred from the heart of Vasudeva to the heart of Devaki means that he was transferred to the womb of Devaki. Similarly, in regard to the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was described in the Chaitanya Charitamrta, the words Visheshi Sevana Kari Govinda Charana. They specifically began to worship the lotus feet of Govinda, indicate that exactly as Krishna appeared in the heart of Devaki through the heart of Vasudeva, so Lord Chaitanya appeared in the heart of Sachi Devi through the heart of Jagannath Mishra. This is the mystery of the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Consequently, one should not think of Lord Chaitanya's appearance as that of a common man or living entity. This subject matter is a little difficult to understand, But for devotees of the Lord, it will not at all be difficult to realize the statements given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Haite haite haila garba trayodashamasa tatamishtatnahi mishreora koila trasa. In this way, the pregnancy approached its 13th month, but still there was no sign of the delivery of the child. Thus, Jagannatha Mishra became greatly apprehensive. Nilambara chakravarti kahila ganiha emase putraha ve shubhakshana kapada. Nilamba Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then did an astrological calculation and said that in that very month, taking advantage of an auspicious moment, the child would take birth. Chodashata shata shakhe masaye palguna purnamasira sanjay kale haila shubhakshana. Thus, in the year 1407 of the Shaka era, that's AD 1486, in the month of Palguna, February, March, in the evening of the full moon day, the desired auspicious moment arrived. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasha has presented the horoscope of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. The explanation of the horoscope given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that at the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the planets were situated as follows. Shukra, Venus, was in Mesha Rasi, Aries, and the Nakshatra, lunar mansion of Ashvini, Ketu. The ninth planet was in Singha Rasi, Leo, and Uttara Phalguni, Chandra, the moon, was in Purva Phalguni, the 11th lunar mansion. Shani, Saturn, was in Vrishika Rasi, Scorpio, and Jeshta, Brahaspati, Jupiter, was in Dhanu Rashi, Sagittarius, and Purva Shadi, Mangala, Mars, was in Makara Rashi, Capricorn, and Shravana Ravi, the sun, was in Kumbha Rashi, Aquarius, and Purva Bhadrapada, Rahu, was in Purva Bhadrapada, and Buddha Mercury was in Meena Rashi, Pisces, and Uttara Bhadrapada. The Lagna was Singha, that means the rising sign was Singha. He's like a lion. Singha Rashi, Singha Lagna, Ucha Graha Gana, Sadvarga Ashtavarga, Sarva Sulakshana. According to the Jyotir Veda, or Vedic astrology, the auspicious birth moment is described as follows. The moon was in Leo, the figure of the lion in the zodiac. Leo was the ascendant. Several planets, the lion. Several planets were strongly positioned, and the Sadvarga and Ashtavarga showed all auspicious influences. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was previously a great astrologer, explains this verse as follows. The Sadvarga 6 divisions are technically called Kshetra, Hora, Drekana, Navamsha, Vadashamsha, and Trimshamsha. According to the Vedic Jyotir Vedic astrology, when the relationship between the planets and the rulers of these 6 divisions is determined, the auspiciousness of the moment of birth can be calculated. In the book named Brahaj Jataka and other books, there are directions for interpreting the movements of the stars and planets. One who knows the process of calculating the Ashtavarga 8 divisions can predict auspicious and inauspicious events. This science is known especially by persons who are called Huda Shastravit, or those who know the astrological scriptures. On the strength of astrological calculations from Huda scriptures, Nilambara Chakravarti, the grandfather of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, had ascertained the auspicious moment when the Lord would appear. Akalanka Gorachandra Tila Darashana Sakalanka Chandreya Rakona Prayojana. When the spotless moon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became visible, what need would there be for a moon full of black marks on its body? Etajane Rahu Kaila Chandreya Grahana Krishna Krishna Hari Name Vasi Tribhuvana. Considering this, Rahu, the black planet, covered the full moon, and immediately vibrations of Krishna Krishna Hari inundated the three worlds. According to the Jyotirveda, a lunar eclipse takes place when the Rahu planet comes in front of the full moon. It is customary in India that all the followers of the Vedic scriptures bathe in the Ganges or the sea as soon as there is a lunar or solar eclipse. All strict followers of the Vedic religion stand up in the water throughout the whole period of the eclipse and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. At the time of the birth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a lunar eclipse took place. And naturally, all the people standing in the water were chanting what? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is the first of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's tricks to get people to chant Hare Krishna. In other words, by his very birth, he caused people to chant Hare Krishna. And as I mentioned in some previous class, that 1 year, and I forget the year it was, when I was in India, during this celebration of Gaura Purnima, it means the full moon of Lord Chaitanya's birth, it was an eclipse that evening. And we all entered Ganges. And half submerged, we were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, on that happy note, we will stop sharing. Let me just see. So tomorrow we will start with verse 93. Let me just mark that down. Today we did 62 to 93. We made a lot of progress today. Okay. Actually, 62 to 92. Sorry. Tomorrow we start with 93. Okay, let us stop the sharing. And then we will take some questions. Okay, again, we like to take questions from people who don't ordinarily ask questions. People who are shy. Is anyone shy there? Shy. Humble. No humility, no shyness. No? There's no humble devotees, no shy devotees.
We have shameless devotee Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, I know that. So, okay, so ask a question. From here's a question.
My problem is that
there's a question in the text message. Yeah, wait a second. Let me answer the question. If Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, let me get back to the text message, appears once in the day of Lord Brahma, that is Sahasra Yuga Paryantam, is it only during Kali Yuga? Yep. Yep. And Lord Krishna only takes birth in a Dwapara Yuga once in a day of Lord Brahma. Okay. Okay, question? Who has a question? Right. Nobody has a question. The first night, nobody had a question.
Gurudev, this is... Hello?
Hare Krishna.
Hello, Gurudev. Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Humble obeisances to your lotus feet.
Good to see you.
Hello? Thank you, Gurudev. Likewise. My question is, Gurudev, I'm just wondering, there is always a reason, whatever Mahaprabhu does, but what was the need for 8 daughters to appear and then to be dying soon after birth, before Mahaprabhu's appearance?
That I'll have to defer that answer to someone else, but I know in the case of the 6 children who were killed by Kamsa, that they were the Shad Garbhas, that they had actually committed offenses against Lord Brahma by criticizing him. Now, just talking about the kids that were killed by Kamsa. So there's some background story about these 8 daughters, and I don't remember the background story. Does anyone remember the background story about those 8 daughters? Pran Govinda, you remember the background story about the 8 daughters that died?
What I remember, Maharaj, that Bhakti Ratnakar also give a little hints that, as you mentioned, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsurja, the 6.
No, but those were
Uh,
the six. Those were the six
yes,
Shadgarbhas.
and then the no other worship of demigods necessary. That's a one representative, and then the other one was no opulence aspect of worship, only to the holy name and sweetness of Braja. That's what I remember. Details I can trace it where.
Yeah, could you trace that out for tomorrow, the
Yeah.
next day's class? I read the Bhakti Ratnakara, and I don't remember reading that in the Bhakti Ratnakara. So, if you could give me the exact citation of that, I would find that very interesting. But that was a good question.
Thank you,
That was
Gurudev.
actually a very good question because I'd like to find out the exact citation. I know with the Shadgarbhas, the sons of Devaki who were killed, they were previously they criticized Lord Brahma. There's a whole story. They criticized Lord Brahma because Lord Brahma chased after his daughter, and they violated etiquette in that way. And then they became the sons of Hiranyakashipu, and then they got cursed by Hiranyakashipu to be killed. They became the grandsons at one point of Hiranyakashipu, and they were cursed like that to be killed by their father. And their father was Kamsa, Kalanemi, and Kalanemi killed them. But there's a whole story behind that. That's the
6
story of
sons
the
of
Shadgarbhas.
Marichi.
Yeah, they were originally the sons of Marichi, and they criticized Lord Brahma.
Correct.
And then and because of that, they actually got killed by their father in the previous birth, who was Kamsa, Kalanemi. And then they became liberated later on when Krishna brought them back to Mother Devaki, and they were able to drink her breast milk, which was the remnants of Krishna's prasadam, which is Krishna's prasadam. Anyway, that's the Shadgarbhas. That's the 6 sons of Devaki. Somehow or other, that's related with the 8 daughters of Sachimata, and I definitely would want to find the actual Shastric reference for that. And
Thank you very much.
if Mr. Govinda can actually help us with that, find the exact reference for tomorrow's class.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you for asking a nice question. It got us all thinking. Okay, what other questions do we have? Of course, Lord Chaitanya's appearance is in about a little over 2 weeks from now, which is really nice. Does Lord Chaitanya appear everywhere or just on earth in Kali? He appears on earth in one Kali Yuga, once in a day of Lord Brahma. So we're very fortunate we happen to be in this Kali Yuga. It's, wow, we are so amazingly fortunate that we are in Kali Yuga. Okay, here's another question in the chat window. Let me just pick it up. Hare Krishna Gurudev, please let my run. Do we get reactions for committing offenses in our mind? No. There's a benediction in Kali Yuga that we benefit by performing devotional service. Prabhupada said it. In our mind. And if we think of something bad, you don't get a reaction. However, if you think of something bad and you meditate on it, Jayato Vishak Punsam Sangos Te Shupajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Krota Vijayate. After a while, you'll do it. Because if you meditate on something enough, you get attached to it. And after attachment comes good old, let me just change this, the screen is too bright on me. After attachment comes good old lust, and then lust comes anger, bewilderment of memory. One loses their intelligence, and ultimately they are lost, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So better not to think of something, or if you start thinking of something, stop it. right there and think of something good. The way to stop thinking of something bad is to think of something good. Like if you're thinking critically of anyone in your mind, you should immediately start to praise them. Of course, it's hard with certain people. Like I was thinking, the past president of the United States, and I couldn't think of anything good about him. So, I'm not living up. Well, I can think of something. He's part and parcel of Krishna. That's good. He's part and Krishna loves him. Krishna loves the demons. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha. So I could think of something good about him. So see, now I no longer hate him because I'm thinking lovingly about him. So here's a question. How can one connect on Zoom from BC, Canada? My son is asking. He cannot connect. Canada is the same as anywhere else in the world. You just use the same procedure to connect on Zoom. Canada, and if you have any questions, you can ask Jagat Guru, who's called Jaga here. Canada has the same internet as everybody else has. Is there a spiritual abode for Lord Chitanya in the spiritual world? Here's a question. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, sir. Because Abhay Chaitanya asked the question. Yes, there is a spiritual abode, and that's part of Goloka Vrindavan. There's a neighborhood in Goloka Vrindavan where it's called Mayapur Navadvip, where Lord Chaitanya has his pastimes. So there is a place for Lord Chaitanya in the spiritual. Okay, Praneshwara, oh my God. You look so happy now, and you gained so much weight. You remember, everybody remembers, Praneshwara is recently married, so he's still in the honeymoon stage. Okay, so you have any questions?
Yes, like my question is, earlier the demons, they saw okay, I'm a demon, but in Kali Yuga, now at time the people is not showing I'm demon, but they have the demoniac like nature. So how do we identify them and how to protect them?
People are not really out and out demons in Kali Yuga in general, but they have a demoniac nature. So we have to somehow or other get them to chant the holy names. Just like the story of Valmiki. Just like the story of the prostitute who tried to lure Haridas Thakur. I think everybody knows that story. If not, I'll tell the story very quickly. Once upon a time, there was a Ramchandra Khan. He was very envious of Haridas Thakur. So in order to destroy the reputation of Haridas Thakur, who was born in a Muslim family, he had a plan, and his plan was to cause Haridas Thakur to fall down. And in order to cause Haridas Thakur to fall down and catch Haridas Thakur in falling down, he called for all the beautiful prostitutes of the area. And he said, who wants to take up this mission? And one of them, a young, beautiful lady, she stepped forward and said, I can do it. Don't worry, just give me 3 days. And so that's demoniac. Trying to cause a devotee to fall down, that's demoniac. So what did she did? She had demoniac consciousness. She wasn't a demon, she had demoniac consciousness. So oftentimes we call people demons when they're actually just demoniac conscious. They bewildered spirit souls. We should be compassionate to them. Of course, if you're a Madhyamadikari, you should avoid them like the plague. But if you're an Uttamadikari, anybody here Uttamadikaris online? Raise your hand. You can go into the reaction button here and raise your hand if you're an Uttamadikari. And let me look. I want to make sure I'm not offending any Uttamadikaris. Oh, Rakesh did. He's an Uttamadikari. Anyway, so, no, he has a laughter thing. So nobody's an Uttamadikari. So anyway, so we avoid people who are envious. But Haridas Thakur, he's an Uttamadikari. He doesn't avoid people who are envious. He gives his mercy out to everyone equally. Dina hina yata chilo. That's not me. Ron Govinda said it's me. No. No, me is demon. Let me see if I can get a picture of a demon and put it up. Okay. I don't know if they allow you to put pictures of demons in chat windows. I'll put a link anyway. Before we get back to the story. It's a picture of a demon. Anyway, so let's see if I can put a picture. I've never tried this before, putting a picture in the chat window. Probably doesn't work. I would assume it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Okay, so anyway, getting back to the story of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was a Mahabhagwat, so he didn't consider or avoid anyone. He was just very humbly chanting Krishna's name. So the prostitute comes up to Haridas Thakur, and Haridas Thakur is chanting, and she says, "Hi, I love you. You're a young man, and I'm just dying to be united with you." And he says, "Well, I'll fulfill your desires after I finish my round, so all night long, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." Okay. So all night long he's chanting. Is it frozen? It's not. Anyway. So all night long he's chanting, and he apologizes to the girl, comes back a second night. Basically the same thing happens, but she begins to imitate his chanting. Third night, and he says the same thing. "Yeah, I got to finish my rounds. Sorry, I apologize. All glories, apologize to you." Third night, guess what happens? She realizes, oh my God, I've committed an offense. She surrenders to Haridas Thakur, takes initiation from Haridas Thakur, becomes a pure devotee, renounces everything, shaves her hair off, sits down in front of a tulsi plant, and goes back to home, back to God eventually at the end of this life. So that's Kali Yuga, that no one's really a demon, that people are actually bewildered. So, but if you're a Majjhimadhikari, then just be careful. Don't think you can liberate. Don't think you can save the prostitutes. You know, sometimes we think we're greater than we actually are. You know, like you're a brahmacharya says, "I'm going to preach to those attractive Bollywood actresses." you know, some poor brahmacharya says, "I am going to preach to that beautiful girl." And the next thing he knows, he's become, Sri Das. She's tied him up. So, anyway, you have to know your limitations. You have to know your strength. Just like if someone is going to lift weights, there's a competition. You know, weightlifting competition, some people can lift 1 kilo, some people can lift 10 kilos, some people can lift 100 kilos, some people can lift 500 kilos. Actually, there's a man who lifted 500 kilos and he's a vegetarian. Interesting. He's the world's champion weightlifter, and he's a vegan. Not only vegetarian, he's a vegan. He looks like Bhimsen. Anyway, so we have to know our limitations. We have to know our level of devotional service. Don't imitate Haridas Thakur and think that you can save the whole world. Save yourself first. Okay, on that happy note, it's time to end. We'll see everybody tomorrow evening. Thank you all very much for joining us, and I hope tomorrow evening Prime Govinda will have that Shastric quote about the 8 daughters of Jagannath Mishra and Sachimata. That would be very interesting, because I'd like to really hear the details on that.